Om. ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधी वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, after elaborating upon the teaching of Sankhya, the teaching about the self or the knowledge of self, started to expound upon the topic of Karma Yoga. He started to teach the topic of Karma Yoga and started to give the knowledge of Karma Yoga. At the beginning of this teaching of Karma Yoga, Bhagwan started with praising the Karma Yoga and telling Arjuna what are the kind of benefits you will reap in case you are able to do Karma Yoga. Having said that, he elaborated from 40 to 44 the benefits which are going to come from Karma Yoga, and those shortcomings of normal action which are not present in Karma Yoga at all. After that, in verse number 45, Bhagwan started to elaborate upon the required qualifications to be developed or the facilitating factors for the intellect to be ready to grasp the knowledge of Karma Yoga, also understand Karma Yoga and adapt it in one's life to start working in the attitude of Karma Yoga going forward in life. The 5 facilitating factors or the required qualifications which Bhagwan told Arjun to develop on were Nistray Gunyo Bhava, the first one in the right sequence, Nirdvandvo Bhava, Nitya Sattvasto Bhava, Niryogatshema Bhava, Atmavan Bhava. What do you mean by describing these 5 qualifications? We see as one develops these qualifications in life, as these qualifications start to be present in somebody's life, one starts to develop these qualifications in life, we see slowly, gradually, the Karma Yoga Buddhi or the knowledge of Karma Yoga also starts to be adapted in that person's life. It also starts to establish in that person's life. That attitude slowly, gradually starts coming in. The other way to look at it is that as one develops the Karma Yoga attitude in life, starts to live Karma Yoga in life, starts to dwell upon the meaning of how Karma Yoga needs to be done, these 5 essential qualifications or the 5 facilitating factors starts to display from that person in that person's life, or we start to see those coming in that person's life as being developed. So they have this mutually supportive role they play. But since here the topic is Karma Yoga which Bhagwan has taken up, we'll take this way that these are the 5 essential qualifications which need to be worked upon, which need to be developed in one's life, and once that is done, the Karma Yoga understanding also starts to come in that person, and that person is able to start and develop that in one's life and able to live that as well. So going with the flow of Bhagwan's teaching, we will take that these 5 essential qualifications have got sadhan bhav. Sadhan bhav means they are the facilitating factors, and Yoga Buddhi or Karma Yoga Buddhi or an intellect of Karma Yoga has got something called Siddhi bhav, which is for the final goal and the achievement and level. As we practice, we will see that the way you have to look at is that what is that which you need to develop is something called Sevak Bhav. Sevak Bhav means the attitude of service towards Lord. And I spoke in quite length about the kind of attitude we can develop upon in life if for our work attitude is. One is that we can be focused on duty, a complete actual focus on duty, that this is my duty, I will do it, come what may, I'll overcome the problems because I have to fulfill my duty. That one attitude was that. Another attitude, if you remember, I spoke about in my podcast was that we can become servant of God. Have the attitude of a servant of God. Whatever you do as an action is a service towards God. So all the things which come into my life as my work arena, they are given by God as an opportunity for me to serve Him. And my service is only going to satisfy God and keep Him happy. When we see these things going on in life, as one develops the service attitude towards God, we see that nirdvandvuta or not getting perturbed from the pair of opposites in life starts to develop in that person's life. The other way to look at it is that as one starts to develop nirdvandvuta in life, stops getting perturbed by the pair of opposites in life, we see slowly, gradually the Sevak Bhav or the attitude of serving the God also starts to develop in that person's life. So both these are mutually helpful to each other. They are mutually supportive of each other. In these 5 essential qualifications which Bhagwan spoke about, what was the primary and the most important one which we highlighted when we spoke about or in the verse 45, explaining the verse 45, we highlighted was Nistray Gunyo Bhava. Means it is very important for a spiritual seeker, which we call sadhaka, or the person who has started to work towards his or her vertical growth, the person who wants to walk the spiritual path. I will call all these three people as sadhaka only. We can see whichever way you want to see it. Spiritual seeker is the one who wants to develop on the vertical path, vertical growth path, as mentioned in my podcast. Is the same one who will call the one who wants to have the interest and also want to walk the spiritual path. So in this, we will see the prima facie important thing amongst these 5 things to keep in mind was choosing the right goal. And I said in there, when somebody chooses the goal, now remember one thing, that there are temporary goals in life. Even if somebody chooses the ultimate goal, definitely as one leads the life, there will be temporary goals which come in. Now the thing is, why choosing the ultimate goal was important. Once somebody chooses the ultimate goal as vertical growth or God or the self, the temporary goals will start automatically aligning to the ultimate goal. It's not that my ultimate goal is this. For example, my ultimate goal is to go to north, then I won't temporarily travel to south to go to north, right? I won't take the long route that way. My temporary goals will automatically start adjusting to my ultimate goal. Wherever I feel that the temporary goal is completely haywire in comparison to the ultimate goal, I will either stop it, but if it's my duty, then I'll think of God and do it just as a duty, but I will not get entangled in that at all. Because the thing with ultimate goal is that once person chooses the ultimate goal of self or God, other temporary goals will automatically start to align up to the ultimate goal. Now with this, one question which may arise in the mind of a sadhaka or a spiritual seeker is, I understand that ultimate goal I have to choose as self or God, and or whichever way I call it, that the self knowledge, Sankhya Buddhi, I have to choose Sankhya Buddhi as my ultimate goal, and for reaching there, as a facilitating factor, I have to choose Karma Yoga as a factor of there. I understand that. But the question is, why should I choose that path? What is the benefit with that? Of course, Bhagwan praised the Karma Yoga Buddhi automatically. One question which may come is that, the reason why this question arises in mind also is that there are so many temporary things available in the world. You look around, there is no dearth of temporary goals in life at all. And all those things, of course, when we live a life, I can live a life of indulgence and it gives me happiness. Definitely, yes. These temporary goals, temporary objects, what I choose in life do give me happiness. There is definitely happiness from these indulgence also. There is happiness from wealth also. Then if that is the case, why should I not choose them and choose this? To address that kind of a question is why Bhagwan is picking up the 46th verse. Another way we can translate this is, we spoke about this word called prayas and shreyas. If you remember in my podcast earlier, I have spoken about this term. Prayas means that which is dear to me. It may not be ultimately good for me, but definitely it seems dear to me because it's going to give me an immediate happiness. Shreyas is that which is ultimately good for me. In the transit of reaching there, I may feel that there are many difficulties which are going to come. It may not be an easy path at all, but yes, definitely it's going to be ultimately good for me. So the choice always toggles between, a human being's mind always toggles between this, something which gives you immediate happiness, people usually run after that because it's immediate happiness. Who knows about the future? Why should I go that path, look for something which is so distant and all and work hard through that? Immediate goal excites, immediate happiness excites people. That's why people usually choose that. The question which we can translate this is that between Shreyas and Prayas, Prayas is that which is dear to me, which gives me immediate happiness. Shreyas is that which is ultimately good for me, supremely good for me. Between Shreyas and Prayas, why should I even choose Shreyas? And another doubt which comes in a mind of a person is, it's that if I choose Prayas, I have to lose on Prayas. Or if I choose Prayas, if I choose Prayas, I will have to lose on the Shreyas. And if I choose Shreyas, I'll have to lose on the Prayas. This is a general thing which comes because we all understand things this way. And I gave you one example also in the last session. Between apple and orange, if I have to choose one, of course, for choosing apple, I have to leave orange. For choosing orange, I have to leave a apple. This is the kind of thought process which we usually have. To address that is why Bhagwan has given this particular verse number 46. And we also see that in Veda, especially the Karma Kand of Veda, there are many types of achievements which talk about from which is derived out of Karma Kand of Vedas. That is one of the reasons why Bhagwan used the word. If you remember, in the 45th verse, that started with Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha, because the Karma Kand talks about all the kinds of achievements which can be achieved within this creation, within the realm of this creation. So Arjun, whatever is there in the realm of creation will be created, will be destroyed. And to even enjoy those fruit of action, you will have to be born again and again, because that's part of the creation. That's why if you really want to experience the ultimate happiness, ultimate bliss, you must choose a goal which is beyond the creation. So yes, that's true that Veda elaborates, Veda means Karma Kand of Vedas, elaborate upon all the different kind of actions which can be done within the realm of this creation. And also elaborates beautifully the kind of results which one can get by getting into those kind of actions. Because I told you, all actions are associated with the kind of result also. That's why in Vedas you will see there will be one karma also, and there will be falashruti. Falashruti means these are the kind of results which can be achieved by doing those kind of actions. That means what Bhagwan is saying, to go beyond Triguna means what? Become Nirveda. Become without Veda, or completely go over the karma kand of Vedas. That's the kind of meaning which derives out of that. And I told you, one of the reason why man runs after, or a human being runs after these things, that he sees utility, he or she sees utility in those achievements. When this comes, if I have a house, I will have a comfort. If I have wealth, I can have the independence of being able to buy the things which I want. All those things, man sees a utility in it. Means what? Between the choosing between Shreyas and prayers, give me one solid reason, Bhagwan, give me one solid reason why I should give up prayers and choose Shreyas. What are the kind of things which I will get from there? Even though Bhagwan praised it, still this is a question which usually comes in the mind of a sadhaka, a spiritual seeker. To address such question of a spiritual seeker, Bhagwan in 46th verse says, the kind of situation in Shreyas is not the way you have understood, Arjun. The kind of situation in Shreyas is all the kind of happiness which you derive out of prayers is already contained in Shreyas. It's not that a person reveling in Shreyas is going to be losing out on all the kind of happiness derived out of prayers. And the reason why Bhagwan is elaborating this is to actually take off the doubt or confusion which comes in the mind of a spiritual seeker, that which I told you in the last session also. Ya to Maya milegi aram. Either I'll get things within the Maya means within the realm of creation, or I'll get Ram. Or Ram means God or the self. So between them I have to choose one of them. Now remember, Maya milegi means nobody likes Maya. Means that they are talking about the happiness derived from the objects within this realm of creation, within the Maya. Otherwise, you will see that nobody likes Maya that way. They like Maya, the objects of Maya or the creation also. Why? Because that is a cause of happiness for them. Everybody likes happiness, is running after happiness. So happiness is the prime goal of everyone, and it's not that they like Maya separately or not. And we also see in this life we have many varieties of happiness driving things, like fame, name and fame we call it, facilities or comfort and luxury we call it, establishing in one's name in somewhere, the ego which comes out of that, power, being intellectual, being more knowledgeable than other people. Intellectual means that. Health is also a kind of happiness. Physical power, mental power, the power of understanding, my power to debate, power of words. There are so many kind of happiness which one can get in this whole realm of creation. You can't even count the kind of happiness which is available within the creation, the different kinds of happiness which are available within the creation. One example I'll give you here is that why I said nobody likes Maya, they like only the things, objects of Maya. Why? Because of the happiness which comes out of them. Now, when we see the objects of happiness, we also should see in our own life that objects of happiness keep changing. One thing which gives me happiness today may not give me happiness later on. Sometimes the things which give us, things or people who give us happiness today may become the reason for our sorrow tomorrow. Isn't it? Where are the things constant? The objects and things in the realm of creation are never constant. They keep changing. That is why I said people are running after actually happiness coming out of that, not after the object or things. These things become the cause of happiness. That's why they start liking the object or things or person also. Another example which I can give you is that look at the body. Definitely body is one of the cause of happiness for all of us. But you would notice, if you see around the world, that body becomes the reason for sorrow also. Isn't it? When health problem comes, lot of sorrow starts to come. Tackling it becomes very difficult. The same body which is the cause of happiness becomes a cause of sorrow later on also. After one grows in very old in age, if some ailments catch up, doesn't the body become like a cause of sorrow? So definitely, this is the kind of question which may come in a spiritual seeker's mind. To address that, Bhagwan gives verse number 46. We have read the verse and seen the literal meaning last time. Let's go into a little bit detail this time. Let's read the verse first. Yavan artha udapane sarvatas samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. Yavan artha udapane sarvatas samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. I'll read the Shankaracharyaji's bhashya also on this verse before going into the meaning, detailed meaning of this. Yatha loke koopa tadagadi anekasmin udapane parichinnodake yavan yavat parimanah snanapanadihi artha phalam prayojanam sa sarvah arthah sarvata samplutodake tavan eva sampadyate tatra antarbhavati iti arthah evam tavan tavat parimana eva sampadyate सर्वेषु वेदेषु वेदोक्तेषु कर्मसु यह अर्थः यत् कर्मफलम् स अर्थो ब्राह्मणस्य सन्यासिनः परमार्थ तत्वं विजानतो यह अर्थो विज्ञानफलं सर्वतः संप्लुतोदकस्थानीयं तस्मिन् तावान् एव संपद्यते तत्र एव अंतर्भवति इत्यर्थः सर्वं तदभिसमेति यत् किंच प्रजा साधु कुर्वन्ति यस्तद्वेद यत् स वेद छान्दोग्य उपनिषद इति श्रुतेः सर्वं कर्माखिलम इति च वक्ष्यति तस्मात् प्राग ज्ञान निष्ठा अधिकार प्राप्तेः कर्मणि अधिकृतेन कूपतडागाद्य अर्थस्थानीयम अपि कर्म कर्तव्यम. So Bhagwan wants to say here, whatever bliss or happiness you derive out of Shreyas is Bhagwan is explaining with an example here, and I took up that example in the last session also. Bhagwan says the happiness coming out of Shreyas should be understood this way, with an example he is giving here. Those people who are staying at the bank of river, let's take Gangaji as an example here. Those people staying on the banks of Gangaji in the summer season, when the water in the river recedes, the width of the water of the river recedes, those people, for fulfilling their needs of water, for Bhagwan Shankaracharya takes the example here, Snana Panadi, for drinking also and for bathing and other washing purposes also, they start to become dependent on the Kupa Tadaga. Kupa means well, or Tadaga means the small sources of water or pond, we can call it. Small ponds which are created on the banks of the river. This is during the summer season. But When the rainy season comes and river takes back its entire width or river expands, at that time these people who were dependent for their need of water, for fulfillment of the need of water for them, were dependent upon the well and the small pond or sources of water created in the banks of river. The moment river expands its breadth in the rainy season, these people don't go and search for those well and pond, because the water of river contains the well and pond within it. So their need of water is fulfilled by the expanded river. Since the need is fulfilled by the expanded river, they do not have to go and independently search for those small wells and ponds which were created in the summer season. They don't say that let me just go and search for the river and pond which was the source of my happiness or need at that time. Let me just go and search them. No, that's not required. Why? Because the expanded breadth of river, expanded width of the river has already contained them within. And of course, even when they were on the bank also, internally river was only giving water to that well and the pond and all those things also. So their need is, when is fulfilled with that expanded breadth, they don't go and search for it. In the same way, a person who has started to experience the bliss or happiness of Shreya, he will not even look for these small happiness which were coming out of the temporary goals. Just as the expanded breadth of the river or the width of the river contains these small sources of water which used to fulfill the needs of those people, in the same way, this whole expanded level of happiness which comes or derives out of Shreyas contains those small happiness which were coming out of the temporary goals or prayers. Just as when the river expands the breadth, you won't say that these people who were dependent on those wells and ponds have now got devoid of them. They have lost those well and pond. No, you won't say that, right? Because this river has already contained them. Antar bhavati iti artha. The way Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, in Hindi we will call one word, they become contained in them means antarbhut ho gaye. Antarbhut ho gaye matlab they become within them. Those small sources of happiness, the small sources of happiness which were giving happiness till the time this person started to understand the happiness coming out of Shreyas, those small sources of happiness gets contained in the wider happiness of the Shreyas, is what Bhagwan wants to say. This small happiness loses their value, lose their taste, lose their importance. When you are getting the bliss, and one thing I'll say, I'm using the word happiness because that's the way easily people understand the term called happiness actually. Happiness is a very small term which we call sukha. Though in Sanskrit we have two words, sukha and ananda. Ananda means bliss. It's difficult for me to explain you that way, but the moment I say bliss, sukha is already, or happiness is already contained in bliss. Bliss is much bigger, much wider, much expansive than these small happiness. Happiness will come and go. Ananda, people can't say that I was Ananda yesterday. Ananda word is also used interchangeably these days, but that's not correct. We use Ananda very loosely also, but that's not correct, because the moment one starts to experience the bliss, that person, you cannot say that he's gone from blissful state to a non-blissful state. There is no opposite of Ananda. Sukha has got a pair of opposite with it called Dukkha, but Ananda has got no pair of opposite with it. Bliss doesn't have an opposite there. I do not know how English terms that, but that is what Bhagwan is trying to explain with this verse here. Since the happiness we understand is actually objectified happiness or object related happiness, that's why we try to objectify happiness also. That if we get one, that means we'll have to give up the other one. If we get this, we won't get that. If we choose this, we will have to give up that other thing. That is how because we have objectified the happiness. We don't understand that happiness is not an external thing. There is no happiness in an object. Happiness is an internal thing. When you start to like some object, when you get that object, the happiness is something which is a result which arises in your mind, in chitta. Happiness is not there in the object. If happiness would have been there in the object, every object of happiness for one person should give happiness to everybody else. No, that's not the case. For kids, toy gives happiness. That same toy will not give happiness for a grown-up one. Right? So happiness is not an object. Happiness is something which arises in mind once our association or desire is fulfilled with that object. Happiness is an internal thing. You cannot objectify happiness. Since we do not understand that level of happiness, that's why we keep saying this thing. That if we get this, we'll have to give up that. Two examples of this I gave you in the last podcast. One is about the green grass and the cow example I gave you. A cow which is eating or feeding itself on green grass, you can't go and tell that cow that you are devoid of the dry grass. The cow may end up laughing at you only. How it will laugh is a different thing altogether. The another example I gave you is that somebody has 10 rupees or somebody has probably $10. You can't say that oh, you have $10 but you do not have $1 at all. No. That is already contained in that. 1 rupee is contained in 10 rupee. But the person who has 1 rupee, you cannot say that, 10 rupees contained in the 1 rupee. No, that's not the case. So, that's how the higher and lower things we need to understand. In the same way, we need to think this way, that in the happiness of Shreyas, Preyas, happiness is already contained. One thing which I'll say in one doha in Vinay Patrika, Pujya Goswami Tulsidas ji says, "Jo mohi Ram lagte meethe, to navaras, shatras, ras, anaras, hoi jate sab seethe." In Vinay Patrika in 169th doha he says, if I really like and find Lord Rama sweet, Bhagwan Rama is sweet. Sweet means here, if I really like him, I love him, he is an object of love for me, he is a subject of desire for me, he is a subject of love for me. In that case, the four kind of rasa he talks about, which we usually derive. One is navaras. Navaras means the happiness which comes out of emotion. Different kinds of tastes of emotion. There is like Veer Ras, Raudra Ras, Hasya Ras. These are kind of different things we talk about. These are the different kinds of emotions. That's Navaras. Then comes Shatras. Shatras is nothing but the different kinds of tastes or segregation of tastes in food. Shatras comes. There are 6 kind of tastes which how we can divide the food into. The taste of food into. That's Shatras. Then Ras, which is other kind of we call the kind of taste we talk about, from where we get happiness. Then he uses one word called Anaras. Anaras means you can't say, there are people who do samadhi, etc. There is some ananda which is coming from there, right? There is some bliss or happiness which comes out of ananda, and also from detachment. Detachment means asankata. Asankata also gives kind of happiness to people. When you start detaching from object, start going away from them, there is a kind of happiness which arises in person. The samadhi abhyas also, when you left everything, detached from everything, there is a kind of anand. If you can't call them as rasa, you can call them anarasa. So Goswami Tulsidas ji has kept a separate thing there for anrasa. All these things starts to lose their taste. Sab seethe means they become tasteless for us. These are the kind of worldly happiness which we usually talk about. So when we say that in the happiness of prayers, in the bliss of prayers, the small happiness which comes in the bliss of Shreyas, in the bliss of Shreyas, the small happiness which come out of prayers is already contained in them. It's not that one becomes devoid of them the moment he or she chooses Shreyas. It's not that that person is going to get devoid of the kind of happiness of those small objects. Rather, the happiness from those small objects lose their meaning, lose their value, lose their taste actually. At the level of intellect, there is one term called satisfaction. We must understand that word called satisfaction. Means in Hindi we call it tripti. What do you mean by satisfaction? There are separate words for that afterwards also. Satisfaction, contentment, fulfillment are higher words than that. Let's talk about satisfaction or tripti in the initial way, in the normal parlance we use. What do you mean by satisfaction? The moment you are satisfied, at that time, no new desires should arise. Isn't it? And what do you mean by not satisfied? When you are not satisfied or you are unsatisfied, at that time, many desires starts to arise in your mind, and you starts to run after them because you are dissatisfied or you are not satisfied, unsatisfied. So unsatisfied means, or atripti means, new desires starts to come in because I remain unsatisfied now. And tripti or satisfaction will mean what? New desires should stop to arise. Isn't it? This is the normal way we need to understand. What do you mean by that? That new desires stop to come means all other objects and the desires starts to lose their meaning. They seems to be having no utility at all for that. That is what is meant by when a person is satisfied. All the objects of desire lose their meaning. They starts to seem waste of time. They starts to seem useless for us. They lose their use for us. And if new desires are arising, means there could be only two reasons. Either my satisfaction is incomplete or I am completely unsatisfied. These are the only two reasons why new desires should come. Now just take back and look at us. Why after buying something also, for some time we remain without any new desire. But after that, desire starts to arise. In the real world also you see, I'll explain you in a different way also. In the normal world, in our worldly transactions also you see, at normal worldly level, when I start to chase an object, okay? When I start to chase an object and I tie my happiness with that once and tie my desire with it, that once I get this, I'll be happy. The moment you get that, you become satisfied, even though how much temporary that may be, but for some time you are satisfied. For that some time you are satisfied means what? Oh, you feel that now I've got it, let me use it now. I don't need to run after any other object at all. At the worldly level also satisfaction means this. So just think that at the level of Shreyas what this is going to mean. One more example I can pick up is, just think somebody loves food. Somebody is a foodie. Lot of food is kept in front of that person. The moment the stomach says, now I have no more place left, I am full, at that time, how much love that person may have for the food and how much good food is kept in front of that person, he will say what? He or she will say what? No, I can't eat anymore. What happened? Your love for food went, no, you are satisfied. That means I cannot take any more food in at all. That is the level of satisfaction and which happens and which we can see within us. Here Bhagavan says, Yavan arthaha, whatever utility, udapane, these small sources of water, which are well and the pond, etc., has sarvataha samplutodake sati. After the river expands the breadth, so it's Sati Saptami, that's why I'm using the word Sarvataha Samplutodake Sati. Whatever utility these small sources of water have, once the river has expanded its basin, once the river has expanded its width and contained these well and sources of water inside it, because that man who was dependent on them, his utility is now fulfilled with the river water itself. In the same way, Tavan, Sarveshu Vedeshu, Sarveshu Vedeshu means we need to understand this way. Somebody can ask this question also. What does Bhagavan mean by Sarveshu Vedeshu? Keshu Vedeshu? Traigunya Vishayeshu Vedeshu. That which Bhagavan in the 45th verse spoke about. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. That in the same way, the entire Karmakand of Veda uses its utility, uses its attraction power for who? Brahmanasya Vijanata. You must know that for a Brahman, here Brahman means not that Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Brahman is a Vyutpatyartha, means Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. The one who has established himself in the self, the one who knows the self, one who has experienced the self. That is the meaning of Brahmana here. So, like these small sources of water lose their utility the moment the river expands the width, in the same way, that Brahmana, that person, that sannyasina, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji has used the word sannyasina here. Sa artha Brahmana se sannyasina paramartha tattvam vijanatah. That one who has known the ultimate truth, who has experienced the self, who has got complete knowledge of the self, the one who has established himself or herself on that self, for that person, the entire Karmakand of Veda loses its utility, loses its meaning. It does not give any kind of happiness to that person, meaning they become very small in front of that person. Meaning, if somebody presents those karmakanda and their fruits in front of that person, it's like an insult to that person. Like, I'm giving you an example, one more example to understand. A person who has risen in his intellectual capability, or a person who's grown intellectually, if you keep small kind of novels which have got not much taste, not much things to share, no new knowledge to give, or keep a small kind of a TV serial in front of him, it will be like an insult for him. It will be like an insult for that person. It will be like making fun of that person. Why? Because it seems very small, petty in front of that person. That person may feel insulted when you present that, because that person has already grown above that taste. That thing doesn't feel tasteful for that person at all. He doesn't feel the taste for it at all. So that's the same thing which Bhagavan is trying to give here. Rather, that thing will start to feel binding for that person. He or she will start to see that as an obstacle. It's an obstacle towards Brahmananda. Brahmananda, what should I talk about Brahmananda? I don't think it is something which can be explained. It's a different level altogether. These small happiness which comes out of temporary goals, temporary achievements, temporary, kind of results driven, they seem very petty in front of that. It's like an insult for that person. Bhagavan is trying to show the same thing. So remember, Bhagavan says, a Shreyarthi, or the one who chooses Shreyas, is not going to lose out on the prayers in entirety. Just take that doubt off your mind. Rather, whatever happiness is derived out of prayers or those worldly achievements will be contained within the happiness derived out of Shreyas. They will already be contained in that. They will already be inside that. So that person is not going to lose out on anything. Rather, that person is going to get or experience the sum total of all the worldly achievements of everyone put together in this world. That's what Chandogya Upanishad, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji has brought up here. Sarvam tad abhisameti yat kincha praja sadhu kurvanti yastad veda yatsa veda. From Chandogya Upanishad, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji brings as an example here. Whatever good work, whatever results are derived out of good work or good deeds done by all the population here, that sadhu, Sannyasina means that person who is established in the self, that person who has experienced the self, he or she experiences all that happiness. Everybody's work put together, he or she experiences much more than that. It's already contained within that iti shrute. And Bhagavan and Krishna is also going to say going forward, Sarvam karmakhilam iti cha vakshati. Bhagavan is also going to speak in Gita ji, going forward, that and all the actions ends in jnana. Once you start to know that self, you will know that what Bhagavan is talking about. Bhagavan is going to talk about it in the further verses as well. So Bhagavan gives an assurance that don't worry, be bold, be brave. I'm giving you assurance that you can go ahead and choose Shreyas as your ultimate thing. You are definitely not going to lose out on anything at all. Don't think it's an object kind of an happiness that once you get one, you cannot get the other one. It's not like that. All the kind of happiness which is available in this world is already contained. Be bold, be brave, choose that goal, go after it, is what the message Bhagavan tries to give. Bhagavan says, Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu, this person who is established in the self, he has got no utility left in the entire Vedas. The entire Veda, he doesn't need to follow that at all. Veda means Karma Kand here. He doesn't need to go through that, not even the branches of Vedas. He's already got whatever could be gained in this whole creation. He's already got that. He don't need to run after anything. Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji at the end of explaining this verse, he says, Tasmat prag jnana nishtha adhikara praptehe karmani adhikritena kupa tadagadi arthasthaniyam api karma kartavyam. Prag jnana nishtha adhikara praptehe means here, before getting the knowledge of the self and getting firm abidance in that knowledge, at jnana nishtha adhikara praptehe means before getting the right qualification or gaining the qualification of gaining the knowledge and a firm abidance in that, before that a person must do prayers, must do what is given to him as a task, him or her as a task, because that's the way for that person to grow. Now, one proverb which comes in Urdu is that they usually say, हर किसी को मुकम्मल जहान नहीं मिलता, किसी को जमीन तो किसी को आसमान नहीं मिलता. That's true in the level of prayers. I should explain you the side of prayers also. Within prayers we can say that everybody cannot get everything in the prayers also. Within prayers, when person gets the happiness, if that person gets happiness from one, that person has to lose out on the other. Within prayers that's true. But at the level of Shreyas, that's not correct at all. At the level of Shreyas, the moment that person gets the happiness of Shreyas or the bliss of the Shreyas, all that can be got from everything within prayers that person already gets. So remember, at the level of prayers, yes, at the level of objects, everybody cannot get everything. That's true at the level of prayers. But when you compare it with Shreyas, don't take that example. At the level of Shreyas, that's not correct at all. Only at the level of prayers that is correct. So that's what Bhagavan is wanting to say from this particular verse. So Bhagavan is telling Arjun that Arjun, learn Karma Yoga Buddhi. Learn the teaching of Karma Yoga, because by learning that, you will gain the qualification to learn about the self, to understand about the self. Bhagavan now, from here onwards, Bhagavan is actually going to teach about what exactly Karma Yoga is. Till now, Bhagavan was only creating the foundation for that knowledge to be given. Yoge imam shrunu is what Bhagavan said in the verse 40. No? Bhagavan was only making the Prishtabhumi or the foundation or preface for this whole thing so that he can start giving the teaching. From now on, from this verse, Bhagavan is going to really start teaching about the Karma Yoga, what exactly Karma Yoga is. So the promise he took in verse number 40, Yoge tu imam shrunu, Bhagavan is going to fulfill now. This verse, now the 47th verse, is a very, very popular verse in the world. We'll read it first and we'll see the literal meaning, and then we'll go and take it forward in detail. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sanghostva karmani. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. As I mentioned, very popular verse. Not only people from Hindu religion, but people from other religion also seem to chant or repeat this shloka, this verse, at many places. And it is quoted also many places. Probably that's the reason why there are a lot of misunderstanding about the meaning of this verse. You know what happened? Like in film also they have taken it. You can see it printed on many calendars also. Now the thing is, in film also they have narrated this thing that, Karam kiye ja, phal ki chinta mat kar, tabhi tu manav. I do not know where Bhagwan has mentioned and phal ki chinta and all those things. It's not even written there. So they have misinterpreted this verse at many places. That is the reason why this verse needs to be understood in its correct sense. Just see the first half of the verse, which is quoted most popularly everywhere, including calendars and all, is actually not even a teaching. Bhagwan there is expounding about the truth of life. He is expanding about or talking about the principle of life, the rule of life. He is not even giving a teaching in the first half of the verse. Bhagwan is talking what is there. What is the truth of this creation? How you should see the action. How you should see the creation. And it is universally applicable across board to everybody. Even if people follow Sanatan Dharma or not, this is what the rule is. Bhagwan is talking about the principle of life. And this half of the verse is what is quoted also. Now the thing is, when they quote this verse and become too popular, this is natural that the meaning will be split. They try to make it understandable to everyone. In trying to make it understandable to everyone, they completely spoil the meaning of that verse. That's not the way it has been interpreted. That's not what Bhagwan is trying to say here. Bhagwan in the first line says, Arjun, te karmani eva adhikaraha. Karmani eva adhikaraha te. Now remember one thing. In this one, adhikara shabd, as I mentioned earlier and explained to you earlier, in the Deep Dehli Nyaya, it will go both places. In the first half of this, in the first portion of the first half also, and the second portion of the first half also. So it has to be read this way. Arjun, te karmani eva adhikaraha. Phaleshu adhikaraha ma kadachana. Ma phaleshu adhikaraha kadachana. You can read it this way. Now, one more way to understand this verses, when I explain, I'll explain you that also. There are two ways that you can talk about the first quarter of this verse. One way is, Hey Arjun, te karmani eva adhikaraha. The other way is, te eva karmani adhikaraha. Both ways are correct. I'll explain both the ways for you to understand. Now, remember and listen to this verse very carefully, what Bhagwan is trying to say. Let me take the second portion which I said. Te eva karmani adhikaraha. Bhagwan is talking about we, us, te tava, we all, human. Now remember, in this creation there are different kinds of breeds we can talk about. And breeds, we will translate that into Hindi or Sanskrit as yoni. Okay. One is Manushya yoni. Another one is Pashu yoni, the animal world, animal kingdom. The human kingdom, animal kingdom. I think this is the better translation that way. Then there is Pakshi world, or the kingdom of birds. And then there is Vanaspati Jagat also, the kingdom of plants and animals. Plants actually, kingdom of plants and trees. Or the kind of things there. So Bhagwan says, Arjun, just understand this correctly. Te eva karmani adhikaraha. Now, only us, the human breed, have the right or freedom of action. Why? Now we need to understand this portion. Now remember, there are two kinds of breeds we talk about. Bhoga Yoni and Karma Yoni. Understand this clearly here. Bhoga Yoni means there are breeds who are only doing bhoga. They are born to do bhoga, to complete their vasanas of bhoga. That's what they are born for. They have no choice of action. Okay? They are pre-programmed by the nature. They are programmed by the nature, controlled by the nature in such a way that they can perform, they can only do the things which they are supposed to do. They cannot change. They don't have a choice of action. That is what is meant by Bhoga Yoni here. Karma Yoni means what? Those who definitely do Bhoga also, they definitely bear the fruit of their action, bear the result of their past action, and they also can create new actions. This is how you need to understand Bhoga and Karma. Animals are born only to exhaust their fruit of actions. Animals, plants and birds. I'm talking about Bhoga Yoni means what? They have an equipment which can only bear the fruits of their past action. They cannot or do not have the ability to create or cultivate new actions to be born in the coming lives. They do not have that. That is what is meant by what Bhagwan had said here. Te eva karmani adhikara. Arjun, you are in such breed who can create their own action also. Now, the word adhikara literally is translated as right. Now, you need to understand what do you mean by right here. Right means freedom. That is what is meant by right here. I'll explain you right now here. Let's first understand the meaning of word called action or karma. We define karma as with doership, all the things which are done in the permitted and prohibited field is called karma. Okay? Is called action. What did I say? With doership. Of course, we all have doership. The only one who does not have a doership is a Jnani. Jnani Mahatma, who has established himself in the self, experienced the self, have got firm abidance in the self. Only for them, the doership is negated. बाधित हो जाता है. उनका कर्ता भाव बाधित हो जाता है. Is what is called. They have got negated doership. So all the kind of with doership, whatever actions are done by us in the permitted and prohibited field is called karma, is called really action in the definition of karma. Now remember karta bhav I told you. All of us have got this thing called doership and enjoyership. Karta bhav and bhokta bhav, all of us have. Nobody is devoid of that. Some people may stand outside and say that my doership is negated and all the time, but they are only making a fool of themselves. All of us have this doership and enjoyership. Only when one becomes a jnani, starts to become knowledgeable about the self, establish himself in the self, gets firm abidance in the self, that is when this doership and enjoyership starts to get negated. Now let's come to the other world, which is bird, animal and plant. Now as I mentioned, they are pre-programmed. What do you mean by pre-programmed? They can only do action in a particular way they have been designed to do. They cannot change an action. Because of that, their actions do not incur or inherit sin also. They do not inherit merit also. They don't have pap, they don't have punya. That thing is not applicable for that world. For plants and the trees and everyone, the bird kingdom and the animal kingdom. These three, they do not have this thing called inheritance of merit or sin. The sin world is not there for them. They are pre-programmed to do this do action this way. Now remember, one thing I want to say here and highlight it is that we all are bound by nature. All of us are bound by nature. But the plant, animal, and the bird world or the bird kingdom, they are completely bound by the nature. As I mentioned, they are pre-programmed to do action in a certain way. They cannot change their action. Okay? Man is also bound. A human is also bound. But not in completion. Completely we are not bound. What we are bound, I should take that example first. Just think, our body is bound by nature. It is born, it develops, it decays, and it dies. That we don't have a choice in that, right? We don't have a choice in that thing at all. We are bound by nature with that. Now let me just go to the internal world. Our mind, intellect, in the BMI chart, the mind and intellect, including ego and memory, they are also part of the nature. They are also bound by nature in certain ways. Like, as an example, if somebody gives you happiness, it is natural that you will start feeling love and respect for that person. And also one more thing which may come up, that the person or the object which becomes a source of happiness for us and gives happiness, starts to give happiness to us, we start to develop greed for that person or the object. It's natural. It's part of the nature. You can't change this thing. On the contrary to that, a person who gives you sorrow, you can't love that person. Naturally it cannot. So this is bound by nature. How our antakaran functions, how our body function, is definitely bound by nature. That much we are also bound. We are also part of nature, so of course some control nature will have on us, right? So that's how it is supposed to be understood. So yes, our mind, intellect, they function on a particular fashion, the way nature is there, and the nature makes us do that way. But we also have one thing which we need to understand, that is called freedom to choose our action. Now what did I say earlier when I defined action? With doership, those things which are done in the field of permitted or prohibited are called action. So remember that word. So we have a choice. Where we have the freedom, a human can choose to work in the permitted field also, can choose to work in the prohibited field also. Right? This is the choice we have. Now just take it back to the other kingdom, animal, bird, and plant kingdom. Do they have that choice? Since they do not have that choice, that's why their actions do not inherit sin or do not inherit merit also for them. Example, those carnivorous animals, they do not inherit sin for killing. In the same way, a plant or tree do not inherit merit for giving shade or helping people. Why? Because a carnivorous animal does not have a choice. They can't say that, I heard somebody saying, so from tomorrow I want to give up being carnivorous and I will try to turn towards plants and that kingdom. No, they don't have that choice. In the same way, why a tree for giving shade does not get merit, even if the tree wants also, that tree cannot remove or not give shade to people who come below it. It's choiceless for them. But human, there are several permutation combinations now this will bring up, which we need to understand. Now, the 4 combinations I'll talk to you about right now here is, the first combination is, a man can choose to give up prohibited action and completely do only permitted action. A person who does that, we'll call them what? What a man with self-control. A duty-bound man. A man can choose to give up permitted field and only do prohibited action also, prohibited things also only, we will call that what? A fallen man. What a wretched kind of a being. What a wretched kind of a person. Such a waste of human life. We can call all those things. Now, other permutation combination which will work is that a man can choose to do permitted also and prohibited also, some of them. Then you can change the combination here. Man can decide to do mostly permitted. Sometimes prohibited doesn't matter to some people, right? Or a man can choose to do mostly prohibited and some permitted. They can make different combinations with it, right? That's the freedom which here Bhagavan is talking about as adhikara. Another way I'll explain this is that, how do you define actual freedom? Kartum akartum anyatha kartum shakyate iti karma swatantriyam. What is the freedom of action and we are talking about? Man, a human, can do also, can decide not to do also, can decide to do differently also. That is what is called freedom in action. Now just think for that moment what the first translation of this word I said, te eva karmani adhikara, this is what it means. Arjun, just think, you can decide to do an action, you can decide not to do an action, you can decide to do an action differently also. Now, I should also say, what defines this permitted and prohibited field also? What defines this permitted and prohibited field? That depends upon the different level a person is in. Like, what are the kind of differences which we can talk about? It's age, kind of position, kind of the social status, kind of the family status, kind of different identification that person has in the society. These are the kind of things which will define permitted and prohibited for each and everyone. Like certain actions are permitted in a particular age, but are not permitted, or they are prohibited in certain age. Certain actions are permitted in certain positions and certain levels of social achievement, at certain social levels, at certain family level, but they are not permitted in other levels at all. There are certain actions which are prohibited in certain things. So those are the kind of classifications we should talk about, when we say different levels of doing action. Then how do you define and differentiate between permitted and prohibited? Those which needs to be done as a duty also, as our duty depending upon the different and social levels we have, is called permitted action or vihit kshetra. Those which are not supposed to be done will be called as nishidh or prohibited action. And I gave you different combination about that. Now you see, in the first meaning where Bhagavan says te eva karmani adhikara, this is the meaning how we need to understand the first portion. Arjun, you as a human have got this freedom in action, but now let's see the next portion of that at first half. Phaleshu adhikara ma. You remember, Arjun, even though you have karmani adhikara, phaleshu adhikara ma, you have no freedom in the fruit. You have no freedom whatsoever. Bhagavan says kadachana means never ever. No human has got any freedom at the level of fruit. Freedom is only at the level of action. When the fruit comes, I told you in one of my podcasts before also that none of us are choosers, we are all receivers. Once an action is done at the level of fruit of action, you will have to bear it. There is no way you can change it. Remember, what did I say about the freedom in action? Kartum akartum anyatha kartum shakyate. You cannot do kartum akartum anyatha kartum in the terms of result. in the terms of fruit of action. Can you do it? That, fruit has come. I will take it. No, I decide not to take it. I will take it differently. No, you don't have that right at all. You don't have that ability at all. You don't have that freedom at all. That is what Bhagavan means by the word Phaleshu Adhikara Ma Kadachana. Never ever a human being had the freedom or right over the kind of results that person receives. I'll give you one example to say. The kind of body you get, the kind of parents or family you get, the kind of spouse you get. Kind means the different kind of people you get, I'm talking about. The kind of family you get, the kind of surrounding you get, you have no choice on them. I'll give you one small thing. I was having this satsang in Bombay and I was talking about the same thing, same sentence over there, that, and I use this term that we all choose our situations, our family and our parents of next life before we live in this life. So there was a small kid who was listening to that satsang. That kid caught me and said that, tell me how did I choose and which action of mine chose my parents. Now I had to leave that question there. Why? Because it is not to be understood this way that I choose physically the kind of parents and all. That's not what I meant. I meant, and I could not have explained that to the kid in that conversation. I thought, let him keep that as a doubt. When he grows up, this is jignasa, or this doubt is going to sprout up and come as a question to whosoever guru goes into that life. So that question will be answered at that point in time, because every question cannot be answered at every stage. We have to be ready for that stage to understand. What I meant was, our actions will define the fruit of the next life. Meaning, whatever actions we do here, the kind of parents we get, the kind of spouse we get, the kind of surrounding we get, the kind of facility we'll get is all coming out of our past action. So whatever action we do here has already decided the next life's situation, family, spouse, everything for us in the next life. That is what I meant by we choose before we leave from here. So that's the point which Bhagavan is saying here. Arjun, understand, you have no choice or no freedom at the level of fruit. Whatever life presents you is depending upon your actions done in the past. You have no choice, no freedom but to accept it. That is what Bhagavan means by saying in here, Phaleshu Adhikara Ma. Te Phaleshu. Te and Adhikara both will go as Deep Dehli Nyaya here. Deep Dehli Nyaya here. So Te Karmani, Te Eva Karmani Adhikara. Te Phaleshu Adhikara Ma. So Te and Adhikara both will go on both sides of this verse, the first half of this verse. Pujya Maharaj Sri Swami Akhandanand Ji used to give a very beautiful example of food. Just think, a food is kept in front of you. Okay? Till the time the food is kept in front of you, till the time it goes and touches your tongue, you have a freedom to eat it, not to eat it also, and also have the freedom to change that food into a different food also. Till the time it is lying in front of you, from the time it is lying in front of you, till the time it touches your tongue. But once the food touches your tongue, you have no freedom to say that I will not taste it. If the food is salty, it will taste salty and you will experience the salty nature of the food. If it is sweet, it will taste sweet. It'll taste as the sweet also, and you will experience the sweetness of all that. You can't say after it touches the tongue that I will change the taste. No, you don't have that freedom. Pujya Maharaj Ji explains it such a beautifully here. So we need to understand this first half. Bhagavan is talking about the general principle, the rule which is applicable across this board in this creation. For everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, religion or whatever. It is applicable to everyone here at the level of fruit of action, at the level of karma phala, we have no freedom. We cannot choose at all. We all are receivers and we have to receive it. Now let's go to the next half of the verse. That is where Bhagavan gives teaching and order what we need to understand. Bhagavan says, Ma karma phala hetur bhuhu, ma te sangostu akarmani. These are the two levels we need to understand. Arjun, since you do not have a freedom at the level of fruit of action, you are not a chooser of your fruit of action that way. You are only a receiver. If that is the case, then why Arjun, fruit should become the primary motivating factor for you in your life for doing action? Ma karma phala hetuh bhu. Arjun, let not the fruit of action become the primary motivating factor for you in your life for doing your action. That is what Bhagavan means by that particular first order. And they says, usually what happens is, if fruit is taken off from the action, the result which is coming out of the action is taken off, then it is natural propensity of a human being that the person will fall into akarma. Akarma means, oh, fruit is not there. Oh, then why should I even do the action? I think whatever is there is enough. Let me not do the action. Bhagavan says, Arjun, ma te sangatu akarmani. Ma te sangostu akarmani. Arjun, it should not become that when the fruit of action is removed, it should not fall back into inaction also. Protect yourself that you don't fall into inaction. You should not have fruit of action as the primary guiding factor, primary motivating factor. Also, you should take care that when the fruit of action is removed from the whole equation of action, of your doing action, you should not fall into inaction also. Then a natural question will come, then Bhagavan, what should be my motivating factor? That is exactly what I told you from 40 to 44, or up to from 40th verse itself up to 44, that the two guiding forces which we should replace the fruit of action as a motivating factor of our action should be, the first and the topmost should be, our action should be a service unto God. Our action should be done for making God happy. We should keep looking, is God happy with my work or no? Did I do something to actually make my God sad? If that is the primary motivating factor, trust me, result will never come in your way of blocking you, stopping you, changing your path at all. The other way, which I already told you also, as secondary to this, or second to this, is if you can't develop love and devotion for God, at least fix yourself to your duty. Be duty bound. It's my duty, so I'll do it. These are the only two things you can replace a fruit of action, and from becoming the motivating factor, these two can replace them. When God's service becomes the primary factor, trust me, your action will come as a beauty also, which Bhagavan will speak about in the next verse. This much we will see today. We will see the detailed meaning of this verse in the next session. Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanaeti samarpayami Shriman Narayanayeti samarpayami. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Om Tat Sat.